The moment I knew my world had shifted wasn't loud or dramatic. It was a quiet, fleeting glance in the executive lounge of Reynolds Construction. 3 weeks before everything unraveled, my father and brother, their laughter echoing like a private joke, froze when they saw me. That pause, that flicker of guilt in their eyes, whispered a truth I wasn't ready to face. I'm Morgan. And for 20 years, I poured my soul into our family's company, building it into a $100 million empire. But in that instant, I sensed the ground beneath me cracking. And I was right. My father was about to hand my legacy to someone else. What I did next shocked them all. But before I dive in, tell me, where are you reading from? If this story grips you, stick around, there's more to come. I was 9 when Dad first took me to a construction site. My skinny legs dwarfed by steel-toed boots, a hard hat slipping over my eyes. The air hummed with the clatter of cranes, and Dad's voice, warm with promise, said, "One day, Morgan, this could all be yours." I believed him. By 16, while my friends chased summer flings, I was deciphering blueprints in our Portland office, asking foremen about rebar and concrete mixes. At Stanford, my senior thesis on sustainable urban construction won accolades. And 2 weeks after graduation, I was at my desk at Reynolds Construction, ready to earn my place. I wasn't just Richard's daughter, I was Morgan, the woman who landed the Miller Tower deal, putting us on the national stage. I pioneered green building when competitors scoffed. And during the 2008 recession, I steered us through without a single layoff. For 2 decades, I was the heartbeat of our growth, respected by clients and competitors alike. Everyone saw it except, it seemed, my father. The morning of the board meeting dawned crisp, the Portland skyline sharp against a gray sky. I arrived at our downtown headquarters at 6:30 a.m., the quiet hours my sanctuary for reviewing quarterly projections and polishing my presentation. Today, Dad would announce his retirement and name me CEO, or so I thought. My assistant, Sarah, knocked at 8. Her usual coffee delivery accompanied by a nervous shuffle. "Ready for the big day?" she asked. Setting the cup on my desk, I smoothed my blazer, smiling, as ready as I'll ever be. But Sarah hesitated, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "It's probably nothing." But Kevin's assistant was copying a different presentation for the board. My pulse quickened, but I kept my voice steady. "Supplemental materials?" "I'm sure. Thanks." Sarah, alone. I stared at my laptop. Kevin's recent curiosity about numbers unusual for someone who preferred golf to spreadsheets gnawing at me. Dad had canceled our weekly strategy lunch 3 times. A first in years. Something was wrong. By noon, Linda, our CFO and my closest ally, confirmed my fears. In her office, she handed me a bound packet, her expression grim. "The board packet came this morning. Look at the succession section." I flipped to the back, my chest tightening. There it was, a recommendation to appoint Kevin as CEO, effective immediately. My brother, who'd spent more time schmoozing clients than studying contracts, was stealing my future. 20 years of sacrifice, and I'd been blindsided. But I wasn't done, not by a long shot. The sting of betrayal lingered like a bruise. But I didn't have time to wallow. In my office, the Portland skyline blurred through the window as I wrestled with shock, hurt, and a simmering anger that threatened to cloud my judgment. I was Morgan, the woman who'd turned Reynolds Construction into a powerhouse. And I wouldn't let my father's misstep or my brother's ambition undo everything I'd built. Closing my eyes, I forced myself to breathe, to think. Emotional reactions wouldn't save the company. I needed evidence, strategy, and leverage. Opening my laptop, I dove into the financials, determined to uncover the truth behind Kevin's sudden rise. What I found was worse than I'd imagined, and it set me on a path that would change everything. I started with the Pacific Heights development, Kevin's pet project, a $65 million mixed-use complex meant to redefine Portland's urban landscape. On paper, it was a triumph, boasting 22% profit margins. But the numbers didn't add up. Construction reports showed delays 3 months behind schedule and costs ballooning by $2 million. Yet Kevin's board presentations painted a rosy picture. I cross-referenced the financial statements with site manager updates, my fingers pausing over the keyboard as the discrepancy glared back at me. Projected profits were inflated, expenses understated. This wasn't sloppy accounting, it was deliberate manipulation. Kevin was cooking the books, presenting fiction to the board and investors. My mind raced. Did Dad know? Had he enabled this to justify Kevin's promotion? The thought twisted like a knife. But I needed more than suspicions. Digging deeper, I pulled up subcontractor invoices and engineering reports. Pacific Heights was plagued by issues unpaid vendors, stop work orders, and structural concerns dismissed by Kevin's team. A chilling realization hit me. These weren't just financial lies, they were safety risks. The foundation reports hinted at inadequate load-bearing supports, buried under Kevin's optimistic summaries. If true, Pacific Heights could be a liability, not a legacy. My hands trembled as I saved the files to a secure drive. This was leverage, but it was also a ticking bomb. I couldn't confront Kevin or Dad without a plan, not when the company's reputation and hundreds of jobs hung in the balance. That's when I thought of Michael Donovan. For years, his investment firm, Donovan Capital Partners, had circled Reynolds Construction, drawn to our growth but wary of family dynamics. I'd rebuffed his offers, loyal to our independence. Now, loyalty felt like a luxury I couldn't afford. I found his card on my desk, the embossed letters glinting under the lamplight. My call caught him off guard. "Morgan, this is unexpected," he said, his voice smooth but curious. "I've been reconsidering your interest in Reynolds," I replied, keeping my tone even despite the storm inside. "Lunch tomorrow, Riverside Grill. 10. Oh, a pause. Then, I'll be there." Hanging up, I felt the weight of my decision. This wasn't just a meeting. It was a declaration. I was stepping into a game where the stakes were the company I'd built and the family I'd trusted. As I left the office, the Portland rain misted my coat. The city's pulse steady despite my turmoil. Tomorrow, I'd face Donovan with a proposal that could save Reynolds or tear it apart. But doing nothing wasn't an option. Kevin's deception threatened everything I'd worked for, and I was ready to fight. Not as Richard's daughter, but as Morgan, the leader who'd earned her place. The truth was my weapon, and I was just beginning to wield it. The boardroom's mahogany table gleamed under fluorescent lights, a stage set for a betrayal I could no longer deny. As I entered, the air thickened with anticipation. Every glance a silent question about my reaction. I'd spent the morning steeling myself, my resolve hardened by the evidence of Kevin's deception in the Pacific Heights project. Today, Dad would make his announcement, and I would face the truth head-on. But this wasn't just about losing a title. It was about protecting the company I'd shaped for 2 decades. The silence as I took a seat at the table's far end was deafening, and I knew whatever happened next, I wouldn't bow out quietly. Dad stood at the head, his voice steady with the authority of 40 years in business. "Thank you all for being here," he began, scanning the room. "It's time for me to step down as CEO." He paused, and I felt every eye shift toward me, expecting the inevitable. Reynolds Construction needs a bold new vision, someone to bring fresh ideas. The words hung heavy, and I nearly scoffed. Kevin, with his borrowed plans and golf course charm, was no visionary. That's why I've chosen Kevin as CEO. Effective immediately. The room froze. A collective breath held. Kevin rose, buttoning his suit jacket with a practiced smile. "I'm honored. Dad, I won't let you down." I kept my face neutral, a mask forged by sheer will. Even as fury burned within, executives who'd seen my leadership firsthand nodded to Kevin, some avoiding my gaze, others offering fleeting sympathy. Dad finally looked at me. "Morgan will remain COO, supporting Kevin's transition, supporting Kevin after building our empire." I was to be his crutch. The meeting adjourned in a blur of congratulations and awkward glances. Linda, our CFO, caught my eye. her expression a mix of outrage and solidarity. I gave her a subtle nod. This wasn't over. As the room emptied, I approached Dad, who busied himself with papers, perhaps hoping to dodge me. "We need to talk," I said, my voice low but unyielding. He sighed, his shoulders sagging. "Not now." "Morgan," when I pressed, "after Kevin settled into my office, or after he runs the company into the ground." His eyes flashed. "That's enough." This wasn't decided lightly. I stepped closer, my words measured but sharp. "Then explain why you'd choose someone who's never led a project over the person who's driven every major success for years." He straightened, meeting my gaze. "Kevin needs this chance to prove himself. You'll guide him." I stared, disbelief surging. "So this is about Kevin's ego, not what's best for Reynolds." His jaw tightened. "Family supports family." "Morgan," I laughed. A hollow sound. Funny how that only flows one way. Turning to leave, I paused at the door. "You always said Reynolds was about excellence, about earning your place. I guess that was just talk." His flinch offered no comfort. This wasn't about wounding him, it was about saving what I'd built. Back in my office, I closed the door, the weight of the moment pressing down. My hands gripped the desk, steadying the tremor of rage and resolve. The company-wide email announcing Kevin's appointment would land soon. But I wasn't defeated. Dad's decision was a mistake. And Kevin's Pacific Heights mess was my opening. I opened my laptop, pulling up the financial discrepancies I'd uncovered. The fight was just beginning. And I'd play to win not for spite, but for the 500 employees and the legacy I'd sworn to protect. The Riverside Grill's private booth offered a sanctuary of muted elegance. Its dark wood and soft lighting, a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside me. I arrived early, sipping sparkling water, my mind rehearsing the high-stakes pitch I'd delivered to Michael Donovan. Yesterday's boardroom betrayal had lit a fire, and Kevin's Pacific Heights deception gave me the ammunition I needed. This lunch wasn't just a negotiation, it was a calculated move to reclaim the company's future. As I smoothed my charcoal suit, I felt the weight of every blueprint I'd studied. Every deal I'd closed. Reynolds Construction deserved better than nepotism. And I was about to prove it. Michael strode in at precisely 1:0, his salt and pepper hair and confident gait marking him as a man who thrived on opportunity. His smile was polite, but his eyes were sharp, scanning for leverage. "Morgan." A pleasant surprise. He said, sliding into the booth, "I thought you'd never return my calls." I matched his tone. Calm, but direct. "Circumstances change." "Michael." He ordered a scotch. "Neat." And leaned back. "I heard about Kevin's promotion. Unexpected." No, I kept my expression even. News travels fast. Producing a single-page financial summary. I slid it across the table. "Here's where Reynolds stands revenue. Projects. Growth projections." He glanced at it. Unimpressed. "I've seen these. Impressive. But why the sudden openness to investment?" I chose my words with precision. "We're at a crossroads. To sustain our trajectory, we need capital for expansion. Strategic partnerships make sense." His amusement flickered. "Strategic partnerships. Let's be frank. Your brother's CEO, and you're here. What's the real play?" Honesty was my best card. Pacific Heights is hemorrhaging money 3 months behind. $2 million over budget. The financials reported to investors are creative. His interest sharpened. Creative enough to cause trouble. I nodded. If the real numbers surfaced, we'd face serious issues. I'm here to ensure Reynolds survives under leadership that can handle it. Our conversation paused as the server took our orders. Salmon for me. Ribeye for him. Alone again. I laid out my proposal. Donovan Capital invests $30 million for a 30% stake. Contingent on a restructured board with authority to appoint the CEO based on merit. Michael swirled his scotch. Thoughtful. You think your father will agree to diluting family control? I leaned forward. The alternative is worse. Pacific Heights discrepancies could be seen as fraud if they go public. I'm offering a solution that protects everyone. He studied me. Recalculating. Bold move. Morgan, I'll need to verify your claims. I handed him a thumb drive with the financial gaps I'd uncovered. Everything you need for due diligence. The next morning, a text from an unknown number jolted me awake. Robert Chen, Pacific Heights developer, requesting a meeting at a 4th and Pine coffee shop. Chen, sharp-featured and all business, slid a thumb drive across the table. Emails, texts, recordings. Proof Kevin pushed for cheaper materials and buried structural warnings. He said, his voice low, "The foundation issues are worse than reported. Without fixes. It's a safety hazard." My stomach churned. This wasn't just mismanagement. It was reckless endangerment. Why me? I asked. Chen shrugged. Your father's backing Kevin blindly. I'm protecting my firm. I pocketed the drive, promising to review it. His evidence was dynamite, amplifying my leverage. That afternoon, Kevin's executive meeting was a masterclass in incompetence. In the conference room, he fumbled through project updates, oblivious to Pacific Heights' stop work order and vendor disputes. We're projecting 22% margins. He boasted. I interjected. Voice calm but cutting. It's closer to 15%. Assuming we fix the foundation issues, the project is $2 million over budget. The room stilled. Executives exchanging alarmed glances. Kevin's face reddened. That's inaccurate. I pressed on. Then why do our lender reports differ from yours? That raises questions about disclosure practices. His jaw clenched. But he couldn't counter. The team saw through him. And I saw my opening widen. As I left the meeting, Linda whispered, You've got them rattled. Good. Chen's evidence and Kevin's blunders were aligning my pieces. The boardroom was no longer Dad's domain. It was mine to claim. The air in Dad's modernist Portland home was thick with tension. The floor-to-ceiling windows framing a dusk that mirrored my resolve. I clutched Robert Chen's thumb drive and Michael Donovan's term sheet. Each a weapon in the battle to save Reynolds Construction. Kevin's executive meeting blunder and Chen's damning evidence had tipped the scales. But now, in Dad's study, I faced the final reckoning. Kevin's sleek German car in the driveway signaled he was already here. Plotting his defense. Voices spilled out Kevin's sharp with accusation. Dad's weary with restraint. I pushed the door open. Their heads snapping toward me. I'm telling them the truth, I said, my voice a calm blade. This wasn't just about leadership. It was about accountability. And I was done playing by their rules. Dad stood behind his desk, exhaustion etching lines deeper into his face. Kevin glared, his tie askew. Eavesdropping now, he snapped. Hard to miss when you're shouting. I countered. Setting my portfolio down, I turned to Dad. I met with Chen this morning. He provided proof of Kevin's orders to skimp on Pacific Heights structural supports and falsify reports. I placed the thumb drive on the desk. Its weight belying its power. Emails. Texts. Recordings, all showing Kevin's reckless calls. Kevin lunged forward. That's a lie. Chen's covering his failures. I held his gaze. Shall we play the recording where you tell the finance team to massage the numbers? His face paled. Dad's frown deepened. What's this about? Morgan? I kept my tone factual. Kevin directed cost-cutting that compromised safety. Then hid the truth from investors. It's fraud, Dad. And it endangers lives. Dad sank into his chair, gesturing for the drive, as he scrolled through the evidence. Kevin paced, his excuses crumbling. I was protecting the project. He insisted. Dad's voice was flat. You lied to me. To the board, I slid the term sheet forward. Donovan Capital offers $30 million for a 30% stake to fix Pacific Heights and fund growth, but it requires a board that appoints the CEO on merit. Not family ties, Kevin scoffed. A coup to steal my job. I snapped back. It's about saving the company you're destroying, before Dad could respond. My phone buzzed a text from Linda Channel 8 sniffing Pacific Heights issues. The leak source is unknown. My heart raced. There's more. I told them, the media's onto Pacific Heights' structural flaws. And inspectors are coming. Kevin's eyes widened. Guilt flickering. Dad rubbed his temples. You didn't leak this. The question stung, but I shook my head. I want solutions, not scandals. He studied the term sheet. Then me. This dilutes our control, better than bankruptcy or lawsuits. I said, after a long silence. He nodded. I'll sign. But I want amendments a right to buy back Donovan's stake. Kevin on the board. And a formal succession plan. I agreed. Relief mingling with weariness. Kevin stormed out, muttering about fixing things. Hours later, Michael called. Kevin's at Sullivan Development, offering his 15% shares to block our deal. Fury surged. But I was ready. In our office, I huddled with our legal team, confirming our right of first refusal, restructure Donovan's deal. I instructed, same $30 million, smaller stake. Use the difference to buy Kevin out. By evening, Kevin strode into the conference room, tossing Sullivan's offer on the table. They'll pay 15% above market. He declared, I slid our buyout papers across. We'll match it. You're out. His bravado faltered. You can't afford this. We can, I said, detailing the adjusted deal. Defeated. He demanded conditions, a press release framing his exit as a choice, health insurance for a year, and our Aspen home. Dad nodded. Voice firm. Sign. Kevin, it's final. Kevin scrawled his name, his shoulders slumping. Don't ruin it. Morgan. I met his gaze. I won't. Later. In Dad's garden. The Japanese maple glowed crimson. I was wrong. He said softly, Kevin's not the leader you are. Your mother saw it, your vision. Your steel. His words mended something raw. Will you back me? I asked. He squeezed my shoulder. It's yours to lead. As we walked back, a text from Linda warned of inspector's findings. The fight wasn't over. But I had the reins now. 2 weeks later, I stood in Reynolds Construction's lobby, the hum of anticipation from our staff grounding me. The board's unanimous vote had made me CEO, a title I'd earned through battle. Addressing the crowd, I spoke with quiet conviction. We've faced trials, but they've forged our strength. Pacific Heights will be rebuilt right. With new management and transparency, Donovan Capital's partnership fuels our push into sustainable construction, and our new board ensures merit drives decisions. I paused, addressing whispers. Kevin's pursuing new paths. With our support, change is growth. Applause rose. And Dad's nod from the front row carried a respect I'd long craved, not as his daughter, but as his equal. That evening, in my new office, the Portland skyline sparkled against the dusk. Dad arrived. 2 glasses and a bottle of single malt scotch in hand. A toast. He said, pouring, Your mother always said you'd build something extraordinary. We clinked glasses, the amber liquid catching the light, to leading wiser than I did. He added, I smiled, the moment sealing a shift, not just in title, but in how we saw each other. He left me to my work. Updated Pacific Heights plans spread across my desk. Alone, I turned to the window. The city's silhouette a testament to our legacy. Those buildings, born of our sweat and vision, stood firm despite our flaws. The road ahead held challenges remediating Pacific Heights, navigating Donovan's expectations, fending off rivals like Sullivan, but I wasn't fighting family politics anymore. I had a board aligned with excellence, a team trusting my lead, and the clarity of a path earned, not given. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I whispered to the empty room, this is just the beginning. Reynolds Construction would rise stronger, not as a family heirloom, but as a beacon of what merit could build, and I was ready to shape its future.